All right. Do we have any other games to put up?
That one was quick enough. I think we can probably switch on over to. Looks like Deck of Many Things has his game going on right now, if I'm not mistaken. I
There are a
might
few
be
people that have,
mistaken.
but yes.
There are a lot of streams up, and huge shout outs to all of those people who have those streams up. Deck of Many Things, of course, just being the next one in the list that I saw. I'll post that in chat for the casters, and once we have that up on screen, Technophy will let us know, and we can start commentating on this match. They are, of course, in the middle of their round. Deck of Many Things appears to be playing Mono Sapphire and facing down Isengard, who is running Blood Ruby, a Gore Feast at the top of his graveyard, and two scary Darkspire troops on the board. This is probably going to be the end of this match. I suppose there's a chump block here to be made. The Menacing Grolk in front of the Tyrant will save Deck of Many Things for a turn. We'll see what he draws.
For everyone saying that this is going to be the Cup of Reese, well, here's one deck that probably does not have Reese.
That's true. Blood Ruby, not a Reese favored deck. You know, if I was Deck of Many Things, it's not a fantastic draw. I mean, he could potentially survive another turn with it. That's one thing there. But I don't think I'd be too upset having an Alternate Art Cerulean Mirror Knight in my deck. Just looks nice, you know?
Deck pointing out that Isengard is on 3 charge power here.
Yeah, that 3 charge power. Yeah, that means shard draws are lethal here. Doesn't look like it was a shard draw, so perhaps another turn. It would take a very impressive set of circumstances for Deck of Many Things not to lose this game. I don't know if that'll be the match or not. This could be first game. But he will need to create 2 troops. He basically needs to pull Reese. And a Sapphire Shard is not Reese. Reese would have come down and created a worker bot, which could have then blocked Darkspire Priestess and hopefully wouldn't have triggered the 3 damage effect. And it looks like Deck of Many Things saying he'll go first next game. So this was not... this was either the first game or the second game of the match. This was not everything. So we'll let them go through reserves, and we will see what's going on after they have pulled it through their reserves. Grolk would have been an okay draw there as well, now that I think about it. I don't know. Grolk into Grolk into Grolk probably being even better than the Reese that I mentioned. Deck of Many Things letting us know in chat that was the first game. Hello, Dark Shadow. Hello to everyone in chat. Again, I would just like to thank you all for coming along and watching. I'm joined today by Jesm Jedi, who's dealing with a lot of background stuff, so he isn't able to talk as well. But on the more talkative end of things, we have Hacky Channel and Infamous Neo. You two probably having a good day so far, yeah?
It's great.
Yes.
Great start to the day.
Yes, it's a great start to the day. There's so many Hex streamers right now. That looks so nice. If you guys have any particular things that you would like to shout out or ask about, make sure you tweet out that hashtag Cup of Fate on the tweeters. I know Hacky Channel's keeping up with that, and every now and then I glance over at it as well. Did I just call Neo a loudmouth? If I called Neo a loudmouth, there was absolutely no lie in my statement.
But it was said with much love.
Yeah.
Some love?
Yeah. Can we see the standings somewhere? You should be able to go to Battlefield and see the standings there. Thank you, Steel via Twitch, for putting in that ! Judge comment. Please message Gaius Marcus in-game for any questions about the rules, player conflicts, or judge rulings. Also, once again, I put a 4 there. I even spelled the word wrong. But the Exalted Colin brings you today's finale. Please show this guy some love for all he has done for the community and the competitive Hex scene. Hex Colin, the enemy of time, the best D&D wizard I've ever played with, and an overall fantastic person. We see DeckOfManyThings getting ready to get back into his next round. Does the player who loses the first game choose who goes first in the second game? Absolutely, thrice. Of course, a couple of these things we kind of have to tell the players and make sure that they work with because of the way we are unable to do best of 3 matches effectively in a large-scale tournament like this. But now that I think about it, I would like to remind the players that ideally going to the top 16, we will be doing all of the matches through the tournament client.
Yes.
The best of 3 tournament client.
Yes. Yes.
Which will require a little bit of patience and love and hope from all of you, but you should.
Yeah. For the pod play, there's just too many people for us to try to manage it. But when we get to the top 16, we are asking players to use the queue there.
So FFTG, you did not win the first raffle. So don't stress too much about that. We would have probably let you know had you gotten there. Pretty sure that's the case. We see the game going here. Okay. It was showing that the coin flip had gone to Isengard. For some reason, I thought he had chosen to play first, and I was like, that's not right. We see the opening hand from DeckOfManyThings on his 5-minute delay. 5 shards, Mastery of Time, and Verdict of the Ancient Kings. For those of you that don't know, DeckOfManyThings is a writer for 5shards.com, and he is contractually obligated to keep all 5-shard hands. He just lost his job by choosing to mulligan there. What's a 5 shards? Oh, man. Ben, can you just not be Ben for a day? Thanks. We see DeckOfManyThings choosing to keep this hand. Interesting card there on the far right, the Mimeobot. He's likely going to play that this turn. What would you target in this scenario, Hacky?
I would target...
That guy right there.
That guy right there.
I was thinking Buccaneer, though. But I couldn't tell you why.
Now that I think about it, there is an interesting thought there because the replicas are not unique.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, DeckOfManyThings in a tough spot here. Obviously, these are not the cards he wanted. The big problem with going first, of course, being that if you have to mulligan, your opponent is then 2 or 3 cards up on you as opposed to the usual 1. This Mimeobot will look to get a little bit of aggression through. Crackling Vortex off the top kind of helps DeckOfManyThings here.
I take a moment as an aside. I was keeping track of another game, and it seems like Golden Saucer Guy did come out 2-0 over Kind Mime. So if either one of those were part of your fantasy teams, that's an interesting result, given that...
No!
I'm going to echo that sentiment. Kind Mime is on my fantasy team as well. It is not over yet, but it is merely round 1 in pool play, but... Congrats to Golden Saucer Guy on that win.
We do see a tunnel there from Deck.
He's laying that troop underground. Of course, playing against Sapphire, I'm sure Isengard has a pretty good idea of what that is. Laying down the Darkspire. Interesting to see Darkspire make a return. Now, this is such an interesting situation for DeckOfManyThings because statistically speaking, he should draw a shard in a turn or 2. So he could lay down his, what I have to assume is reserves tech there to try to start controlling the board. But he is instead going to hold on to it, not take that chance, lay down his alternate art Cerulean Mirror Knight, and we will go back to Isengard's turn, who uses an alternate art burn on an alternate art Cerulean Mirror Knight. This is the alternate art Inception. I can't handle it. Oh, and Withering Touch.
This deck is interesting.
That is some tech. That is some real tech there.
That's a super strong card here against Sapphire right now. A lot of people talking about how Sapphire has no counters. Interesting choice. Taking the Time Ripple out of DeckOfManyThings' hand. Possibly having an answer to anything else.
Now, Withering Touch lets you look at your opponent's non-troop, non-resources, and you get to choose one and discard it.
So he did get to see both Time Ripple and Drew's Unrelenting Fist there. And no matter which way you look at it, he now does know about the Drew's Unrelenting Fist. Not a whole lot of answers for that, honestly, if we think about what Ruby's Blood has. I mean, Imp Hoodlums does, in fact, destroy an artifact. Oh.
So why do you suppose he got rid of the Ripple there instead?
I suppose troops dying is just valuable for a Darkspire related deck, right? Like, you don't care. Once again, Deck of Many Things choosing two things here: choosing not to use this charge power, choosing not to put down Drew's Unrelenting Fist and bank on a third resource coming out. For those of you that don't know, Drew's Unrelenting Fist enters play exhausted, and if your turn ever ends without it being exhausted, it will destroy itself. But for 3 resources, you can exhaust it to put a counter on it, deal 1 damage to either the opponent's face or one of their troops randomly for every counter on it. It's a very powerful card. Should it get out quickly, but these are bad times for Deck of Many Things. The Vampire King coming down, a 3/4 with Flight and Life Drain with an incredibly powerful effect. You see the Sapphire Shard finally come into Deck of Many Things' hands. He would have been rewarded for playing Drew's at least a little bit, I suppose, because he's going to use that Buccaneer here to knock the Vampire King away. It's almost covered up by his button design over there on the right-hand side, but 1 turn away from surfacing Reese. Fist seems bad against Darkspire, says somebody in chat. I'm not convinced it's terrible, because every time you destroy a troop and you take that negative effect that isn't searching for another Darkspire, you just get board control for free, really.
I also do not see a Darkspire Longblade in play, so...
Yeah, well, thankfully we can't use equipment in PvE yet. Whew. So swinging here, Isengard pushing for that extra bit of damage through. Looks like Deck of Many Things is going to put the blocker up. Either take a 3 damage random effect to his face or allow Isengard to search his deck for a Darkspire troop.
Yeah, I would expect from the way that Isengard's been playing here, he hasn't had a super aggro hand, so I'm thinking he probably has some kind of way to kill the Reese that would be coming up this next turn. Probably why he took the Ripple earlier.
A Zentos Inquisitor.
That is a combination you don't see too often. Zentos Inquisitor dealing direct damage to Deck of Many Things' face.
Yeah, it seems like Isengard has built a deck that doesn't mind chumping in a meta where I'm not sure chumping is the biggest threat. Now, Reese resolves, and we see Deck of Many Things play his troop power. For the second time today, we see a Mecha Tyrannosaurus Hex created off of Reese. This is the power of Reese. That random robot chooses from a pool of roughly 34 cards, give or take certain bots and plans that may or may not be being created. And I would say 12 or so of those are very difficult for opponents to deal with effectively. None of them strictly worse than the worker bot that would normally be created, with the exception, I'm glad to see that Warhulk can be created. That's one that I hadn't confirmed yet. With the exception of Tower Hulk. Tower Hulk is the one thing that Reese the Crustcrawler can create randomly that will just destroy itself and go right to the graveyard because it has 0 attack or defense.
Alucard asks in chat, earlier we saw a block on the Darkspire Priestess by a Buccaneer, and he asked why the Mimeo bot did not do that earlier when given the chance.
Interesting thought. I'm not actually sure why that would be the case.
I don't think any of us caught that, but...
Well, I mean, I think I saw it, but I mean, perhaps there's a reason to have MimeoBot out there. I suppose MimeoBot is more resilient to being bounced, but you wouldn't be worrying about that there. Deck of Many Things taking down game 2. Looks like Isengard has no answer to the resolved Reese. I'm sure Deck of Many Things is going to let me know on Skype why he didn't block with that MimeoBot at some point, so I'll let you guys know. Pods are allowed to move on at their own pace. I am 95% sure. I'm 100% sure now that I've looked. If your round completes, and you finish early, and your opponents are ready, move on to the next round. Let's get this pod phase out of the way. Now that as soon as this game is done, I think we'll set up the giveaway for the second one. I know Infamous Neo is sitting there in the background, well known for doing giveaways. He's twitching to give more things away to the community. I can see it in his eyes, in his Skype avatar.
I couldn't comment on that match because it was buffering between things a lot, and I was way behind you guys.
No, it's fine. Obviously, with the setups that we have, there are going to be technical difficulties as things go. We are.
Let's do another keyword then. We have 10 giveaways, and I believe not 10 rounds, so we're gonna have to double up on one of these at some point.
Oh no, more stuff to give away.
No! DeckOfManyThings saying in chat something that I'm pretty sure I should have realized. He had seen a murder in game 1, so he kept his Mimeobot back because Mimeobot, of course, is an artifact troop, and as such, resilient to murder. So Buccaneer was just in more threat on the board.
That is a very fair assumption. If I were playing Blood, I would consider playing Murder as well.
I apologize for the disjointedness of my thought process here as we try to deal with things in the background that I told myself I wouldn't look at, so I'm going to try to keep Skype closed. DeckOfManyThings, going to quickly double check that Isengard does in fact want to be on the play. He does. Chooses to draw first. Game 3 underway. This game will decide the winner of this match. Oh man, that's the worst when you see like a good card, a good card, a good card, and then you see that fourth good card and you're like, I'm not getting shards.
Too much of a good thing.
Mulliganing here in a little bit less disadvantageous situation because DeckOfManyThings is, of course, going to draw a card on his first turn. He has lost that single card advantage that he would normally have for going second. Looks like Infamous Neo is giving away something in chat right there. Azawa's Dance OP is the giveaway key phrase.
What gem would you use?
Oh, that depends on if there's new gems or not. Wink. What is the giveaway here for Mr. Neofinus?
700 platinums.
700 platinum. Pew, 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 pew. We've got shards and not much else coming out from our opponents, from our players here. Isengard did lead with that dual shard, the Shard of Hatred, finding his blood, and second turn playing his Ruby, laying down the turn 2 Darkspire Priestess, a super aggressive threat, especially, if I think about it, it's especially aggressive against Sapphire. DeckOfManyThings going to tunnel a troop. That could be anything. It's probably Monsoon if you listen to any stream chat on the planet, because it's always Monsoon.
It's definitely Monsoon.
Even when it could not ever physically be Monsoon, it is sometimes Monsoon.
Monsoon until proven otherwise.
Yeah. Isengard laying down one of the most ferocious humans in the game, a 3/3 for 3, Lord Alexander the Courageous. He inspires all 3 and higher cost troops with speed. Speed, of course, meaning that a troop can attack and exhaust the turn it enters play. He's going to swing in for 2 damage here, and not a whole lot of answers on DeckOfManyThings' hand. If more troops start hitting the board, they'll be able to swing in immediately. This 5 damage a turn is more than enough to beat out Reese. Pods can progress as they desire. I will reaffirm for people right here.
Now, while Reese is powerful, his really kind of big weakness is that he does take 4 turns to come out, and in that time, a lot of damage is possible. And DeckOfManyThings, in fact, has to use his charge power to attempt to stem this tide, as that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's not the worst use of his charge power, honestly. I mean, you don't get to create a random robot with Reese, and I'm sure everyone would love to do that had they been given the chance. But in this situation now, wow, okay, Isengard playing Monsoon from hand, that will see a counter magic. So that counter magic actually fairly strong here for DeckOfManyThings. He's still got a card up on his opponent. He's used all of his resources for the turn. He can block the Darkspire Priestess if he needs to. We'll see what happens. He still needs to wait a turn or two. We saw a Gore Feast from Isengard game 1, and Gore Feast is still potentially just a devastating turn of damage, especially with that poke a charge power available, so a lot of considerations having to be made here. Deck of Many Things does block with the Worker Bot and takes the 3 damage from the Darkspire Priestess.
Yeah, regardless of what's in hand, I like going for the hard cast Monsoon there and just trying to push the clock.
And he would have been speed because he's a 3-cost troop, and Lord Alexander inspires 3-cost or more troops.
Absolutely.
On the flip side, if you're Isengard, you don't mind your Monsoon getting countered because you can always tunnel it for 2.
That is also true.
Yep. Counter, of course, increasing the cost of all other copies of a card in the deck. Oh, we see what could be a ton of damage come out here. Isengard will swing, and likely this is an interaction. I mean, Deck of Many Things will have to keep in mind here. If he doesn't block in this scenario, he has to be afraid of the main phase 2 Gore Feast, which would have still proven to be really brutal. Can we start the second match? Yes, we can. That Drew's Unrelenting Fist, not the best card for Deck of Many Things to draw here. Has to consider, again, his options. If he plays that out, he's basically...
he's locking him out from playing anything else in hand.
Well, yeah, he's advertising that he has, in fact, nothing. I mean, he's got that Verdict in hand. He has to consider holding that because Gore Feast would be lethal here. He plays the Drew's Unrelenting Fist, a huge gamble here. If Isengard has a way to push 5 extra damage through here, he'll be 1 damage short. So he needs to push 6 damage through.
Well, if Isengard had a Gore Feast last turn, he would have played it for Fatal in the main phase.
Exactly. Yeah, yes. If he had it, he would have played it last turn. Exactly.
So we see the swing here. Now, is this where things turn around for the Sapphire side of the board? A lot of people have been talking about the domination of Sapphire, but I'm going to be honest, this is not looking like a dominating position for the Sapphire player. This is a very, very, very risky scenario to be in. Crackling Vortex, probably the best draw that Deck of Many Things can think of right now. Just to get that charge power out again. Finds a Sapphire Shard, not the worst thing. Isengard flooding, a question from Shosny in chat. It does look like that's the case. We see that Drew's Unrelenting Fist being used to ping Lord Alexander for 1 damage instead of being destroyed. Oh, interesting. This looks like a heavy welding bot got created. It is. So in addition to getting his free troop at the end of turn, Deck of Many Things will also get to bring back a worker bot. That's incredibly relevant here. That's another one of those 10 or so troops that I would say is pretty top-notch for Reese to create a 4-4 and a 4-5 on his side of the board. We'll see if Lord Alexander does anything here. No. 3 cards left in Isengard's hand, and interesting cards on Deck of Many Things side of the board.
Yeah.
He's going to use that Drew's Unrelenting Fist, which will once again hit Lord Alexander. From this point on, pretty much every hit of Drew's Unrelenting Fist will do something valuable for Deck of Many Things. He has to make some interesting decisions, though, still, as the game progresses, because at this point, Darkspire troops, especially Priestess and Tyrant, will have to scare him with that direct damage to face.
So we see Drew's Unrelenting Fist here. Can we assume that's a side deck card, or what do you can? I haven't.
It almost certainly is. I play test with Deck of Many Things quite often. It's a reserves card. Again, Slaughter Gear being created in that top 10 of cards that Reese can create. 5/6 for 6 with an incredibly relevant ability. 2 bolts or priestesses and he's down. That's true. There are a lot of cards that Isengard could pull here. Now, there are a lot of cards he could pull that could have been verdicted. I probably would have been holding Verdict up in the past, but it looks like Deck of Many Things will now be able to use his Drew's Unrelenting Fist and still hold up the Verdict. one life siphon or burn to the ground, like Ossuary is saying, would have been an issue.
Ouch.
That Drew's Unrelenting Fist does hit the Alexander there. Almost a weird decision there not to swing with Reese. We can see DeckOfManyThings displaying his utter lack of knowledge of the game. Creates another random troop here. He gets another Mimeobot. Let's see. I think there might still be outs here for Isengard, depending on what's in his hand. It's not a good situation for him to be in. Those Reese's it's batting 2 for 3 in my opinion. Giant heavy welding bot and slaughter gear are huge. We can see DeckOfManyThings preemptively opening the chat on stream. It fades away, but it looks like Isengard said something. That's Army of Mordor in chat. I'm sure is not playing. Is this the slow roll? Does he just have 3 crackling bolts and he's playing the slowest roll of all time?
Nah, this is probably a
good game. Yeah.
Oh, I had all the shards.
Oh man, Heroic Outlaw would have been brutal there. Now that
Yeah, Heroic Outlaw would have been sick.
It would have been sick. Does not look like that's the case. DeckOfManyThings taking down his round here. That's pretty exciting for him. Isengard almost totally in control of that game. I honestly think that's a deck that can beat Mono Sapphire on the whole. I don't know what else is in that deck, but I have to imagine that there were so many outs there for Armies of Mordor that he wasn't thrilled with the outcome.